is opening up with a jolt. This is so juicy.
Oh no. Get off me! Get off me!
We all think that there's this crazy man in the audience causing a drunken row.
Oh no.
He's running through the audience. He's pushing us, palming girls, spilling beer, yelling, cussing. And then this man gets up on stage. Just when we think the crew finally gets him under control, he starts swinging and he punches someone in the face. And then he comes over to the edge of the stage. Oh no. He's unzipping his... He urinates.
Oh my God.
All over us. Apple juice. Orchard. Fresh pressed. Dole. Oh, this is part of the play. Okay. And then he vomits. Maybe it's oatmeal. But then a crew member stands up, throws her hands up and says, "I'm sorry, but we're having technical difficulties. The show simply cannot go on."
Due to technical difficulties, I'm afraid we've got to cancel the show.
Technical.
Most of us are laughing now because this woman is dressed in standard stage hand and crew, all black everything. Her mockery of the 20th century theater is spot on. She's got the high-strung eyes, hands thrown up. Her neck is all abulge with blue veins, and her head is adorned with a head mic and a pager on her hip. We're laughing because here at Shakespeare's Globe Theater, you don't need all that. There is as much of a chance for technical difficulty as there was in this very place in the 1600s. And we ain't got no cannons, I murmured, matter of fact, to a nearby spectator who chuckled in an "I totally know what you're referring to" kind of way. You see, on June 29th in 1613, Shakespeare's Globe Theater burned down during a production of Henry VIII. A cannon that was used during the production sparked, and, well, the rest is history. The theater was rebuilt the following year, but was closed again by the Puritans on the 15th of April, about 30 years later, after they beheaded King Charles I. And although most of the theaters that had been shut down or demolished were rebuilt by 1660, unfortunately, the Globe wasn't one of them. The Globe we now know today was rebuilt in the early 1990s, about 750 feet away from the original Globe Theater. The theater itself transports the audience without the use of any technology. Maybe there's lighting for evening shows. We're here during a matinee. And if there is lighting for evening shows, it's probably by lantern. But the acoustics, they need no microphone nor speaker. And the roof, well, there isn't much of any. This theater was rebuilt as an open-air theater, and the little roof that there is over the seating is thatched. In fact, it's the only thatched building in London, because after the Great Fire of London, thatched roofs were banned. The stage is held up by two solid oak tree pillars met by a wooden ramp, which the actors make plenty use of to spread their world into that of the audience. There are no sound effects, just live band, hearty stage combat, handmade horse gallops, and big, beautiful theater voices.
How be these gallants? Who is at home?
You are welcome, sir.
The tweets of real birds bring a seemingly untainted period atmosphere to the play. That is, if you don't look up at the airplanes. And finally, the sounds of the audience, playing, responding, and clapping along with the cast as we are co-opted into the play.
What's your name? Oui? Pauline. Am I a lord indeed? Am I a lord indeed?
No.
Christmas light! Well, bring our lady hither to our sight, and once again...
The show is extraordinarily funny and very period. During the induction, which is the introduction of Shakespeare's play, a very young, clean-shaven man plays a woman.
Noble lord, what is thy will with her? Are you my wife?
We clap and cheer because of his miraculous transformation. During Shakespeare's day, women weren't allowed to act. Women's roles were played by men. This production of Taming of the Shrew brings a splattering of slapstick and a real, natural, relevant portrayal of Shakespeare's timeless writing. The teenage girls that pushed in front of me ended up paying for their rudeness. They mustn't have read Taming of the Shrew before, because there's a particular scene when Petruchio, Kate's bidder, shows up to his wedding late, and he's not quite dressed like a groom. In fact, he's not dressed very much at all. And this director interpreted that as, oh, mere nakedness. Yep, the teenage girls got the whole enchilada, the whole shebang, or as the British say, they got the full Monty. Petruchio let us have it, all of it, in a thong. None of us were expecting it, actually. But that was the nature of the entire performance. There weren't any reviews available before my class and I went, so we didn't know what to expect. We didn't know if this play were going to be some misogynistic terror or a comedic love story teetering on mental abuse and identity crises. We didn't expect the minor characters like Grumio and the servants, Bianca's suitors, and even the musicians to bring so much life to the play. As one of my classmates said, they really filled in the spaces that were difficult to imagine. But that is the mission of an ensemble, isn't it? For many, while reading a play once or even twice sometimes, focus isn't placed on the development of the ensemble. It's easier to get caught up in understanding the motives or building blocks of main characters or even symbolism in the set. When I played the 8 Wonders in The Venus Hottentot by Susan Laurie Parks, my director and favorite acting instructor, Johnny Hobbs Jr., was so good at delving into us as ensemble. There's a lesson in that. Hearing the nuances of space and meaning between characters and text shouldn't become secondary in reading. It can be birthed during rehearsal, and in this case, it was birthed during the performance. The audience had everything to do with the play, and it was important to listen out for our cues. In fact, during Shakespeare's time and the Globe's infancy, since we're talking about hearing and everything, theater was all about the auditory experience. Walls and ceilings were domed precisely to send sound bouncing in all the right ways to reach the ear canal with perfect delivery. Theaters today, they nurse our society's visual culture, or arguably our society's visual dependence. But be that as it may, the aspiration of our seating arrangements today are fixed on seeing the stage. A stage performance, more often than not, on a proscenium stage, helped with mics and sound systems banging with reverb. Today, I stood in tradition. Literally, laughing at the thought of seats as I stood directly at eye level with the actor's feet. The grandest part of hearing a play at the Globe, let alone being there for the first time, is to get the best spot. And the best spot for hearing a play is standing at the foot of the stage. At the foot of the stage, the actors soliloquize directly in your face as if you're a mirror. They spit on you with their frivolous speech and reach for your hand even. Or they urinate on you as we start the start of this particular play. Professor Bennett, aficionado of Shakespeare, says that during the 1600s, royalty would have sat above and even on the stage for best hearing. The Victoria and Albert Museum says that this 19th century painting shows Elizabeth I watching a play at the Globe Theatre around 1600. In reality, Elizabeth never visited a public playhouse. When she wished to see a play, the players would perform for her at one of her royal residences. The more affluent members of the audience sat in the seats, like where my friend is sitting up there. Or they sat on the stage itself, for which they paid extra. The area around the thrust stage, called the yard or pit, was standing room only, and here the groundlings or penny stinkards could stand and watch a play for a penny. A classmate and I decided to switch during the intermission, so she took my penny stinker groundling spot and I her seat of nobility up high. From there, I broke theater etiquette and stole snapshots of song and dance during the intermission and the cast bowing out. The applause continued to ring in my ear as I strolled to the bus headed for Oxford. And while I was on the bus, for a while, I couldn't distinguish the applause now hanging from my eyelids from the rain on the bus's window. I know. I'm so sappy. But I suppose it was kind of an applause for myself. All the world's a stage, right? Well, my character finally made it to Shakespeare's Globe Theatre. I finally made it to the Globe.